Armageddon Vertus, the destroyer from space. Galactic Emperor the End, the universal destroyer. Titans of power, champions of inconceivable might. These beings are the ones whom the mighty galactical invaders call their emperors, devoting their lives entirely to them. Together, this group of cosmic annihilators have destroyed thousands of planets and will always remain to be the most impactful final bosses within the story of Animal Kaiser. But with the existence of two emperors of the galactical invaders, it was obvious that fans of the series would question between who would actually win in a fight. And between the Animal Kaiser community, it's split half and half between people thinking of who they would back up. Some say that Armageddon Vertus would be the one to come out on top. The others would say that Galactic Emperor the End would crush the Armageddon Emperor. And while this is likely a fight between the same being, as it is implied by the Kaiser stories that Vertus and the End are in fact the same, you can check out my video on that theory by the way, a bit flawed but I think it gets the point across. I do believe, at least, this battle should be settled in some form with the terms of your usual versus debate match, not just with the gameplay of Animal Kaiser. This video will be split between sections discussing their attack potency, durability, speed, and the abilities they wield. Not to mention, I'd also be separating the discussion of these feats with the official gameplay, plus extended media and statements that can be used to back them up. Oh, and side note, we are trying to exclude the miracle cards for this case. While they're definitely viable, I'm honestly too lazy to include them, and it may be better just to scale the Emperors by their base abilities. Next, I'd definitely like to mention that I'm absolutely trash at scaling, so I probably would mess up a lot of the interpretations of feats and can't get much out of this since I can't properly get the numbers for calculations for verses as most people generally will. So just gonna apologize for everything firsthand in case, because I know flops are very likely gonna happen, especially with me around for a versus video. And hey, maybe if someone who is a versus debater is interested in this, we can collab on a follow-up video if you do find there's quite some errors in this video. Then, sure, there is Death Battle, but let's be honest, unless you're a Battle Royale or a really popular matchup within the casual audience, almost no one likes the same series fight. Could you imagine if this would actually to become an actual episode? Most of my homies are gonna be jumping my ass. Plus, both Vertus and the End do actually have better opponents for Death Battles, so honestly, there's no point suggesting this matchup, just suggest those instead. Lastly, this whole video is not a definitive answer to who would actually win. Versus debating is not only subjective, but considering that Animal Kaiser is an obscure series that only has, at most, small tidbits of lore through the form of posters and sometimes cutscenes, which are very rare to find, I'll just say that. There also could be unfound media that could potentially change the decided victor between the two in this video. Plus, we're researching these characters not by canonical timeline, but by what is shown and stated for the Emperors themselves. If we went by canonical timeline, especially if you buy the theory of both being the same character, I would say the End is the more likely winner. After all, usually the new big boss comes back far more powerful. It would be weird if they actually came back weaker. What is this, Vilgax? Wait, did Vilgax actually come back weaker or did he come back stronger? Wait, no. He came back strong. But with this out of the way, my name is Kaiser Isaiah, and for today, it is my job to showcase their arsenals, skills, and abilities to find out who would win in a battle to the death. And thus, let us dive into today's matchup between these devastating cosmic forces, Armageddon Vertus versus Galactic Emperor, the End. Attack potency. First, with official media. When it comes to attack potency, both emperors are very similar in terms of power. For Armageddon Vertus, just with the gameplay footage he has, this Emperor has 2 feats of planetary destruction. With his power attack, Gigantic Gravity, Vertus slams his whole body onto the ground, which splits the Earth completely in half. Then with his tech attack, which is his best 2, that being Galaxia Runaway, Vertus will enter escape velocity in seconds, grow to an absolutely ridiculous size, then uses his tail to smack the Earth out of the Milky Way galaxy. And for Galactic Emperor the End, with just gameplay footage, coincidentally, also his power attack, Uchu no Hisoku ga Midareru, he clamps his jaws down on his opponent, thrashes them onto the ground before eventually tossing them into a goddamn volcano, which then will erupt. And obviously his best attack, which is also his tech attack, Zodiac Tyrant, in which the End flies out into space and uses his gears to create these gigantic energy hands. These will then kindly proceed to annihilate the Earth by tearing it in half. So, with just gameplay feats, they seem to roughly be pretty even with their destructive capabilities. However, if I had to pick one to win, Vertus' Galaxia Runaway would probably be the one keeping the Armageddon Emperor ahead of the Dragon. For my case, I'd say because Vertus is very much bursting the planet entirely by kicking it like a soccer ball, while the End is tearing apart the planet. And by Versus standards, vaporizing a planet is far stronger than just breaking one. Now, let's talk about statements and extended media. For this case, Vertus has far more up his sleeve, or fin, I suppose. With his own fighter card, Armageddon Vertus is stated to normally be capable of eating stars. The Sun is a very good example of one. However, for something like the largest star, known as R136A1, which is a Wolf Rayet star, it is potentially capable of making Vertus head up to even the levels of destroying a solar system. Talk about surprising, yet definitely terrifying. And then, in one of the banners for the announcement of Animal Kaiser Evolution 8, Vertus was actually stated to be the Eater of Galaxies. This likely means that Vertus is capable of eating multiple galaxies and still keep going strong. So for this case, a likely multi-galaxy feat. I think Vertus would be very comfortable with where he's placed at right now. For Galactic Emperor the End, he really doesn't have much on his own, compared to Vertus at least. Obviously, he massively upscales from his minions. One, for example, is my boy General Crusher, who is stated in his card to eat star chunks. As we've covered earlier with the star-eating feats, they can come up from around, obviously, star level to somehow at maximum solar system level. The End also does have one statement which I can't find proof of, however. According to his Versus Wiki page, there is a statement which, I quote, is known for destroying universes and was going to destroy the animals' universe after personally killing them. Obviously, Versus Wiki is kinda inconsistent for the most part, mostly with overall stacking of power, and this somewhat seems to be the same case here. Kind of ironic now that I think about it, because I'm literally taking a lot of calculations from Versus Wiki, but yeah, Versus Wiki calculations, I think they're pretty fine on their own, just the overall stacking, like I said earlier, not the best there. And again, for this case, I am still really questioning where they got that statement, because they never left a source of proof, they just stated the End with the universal destroying thing, but they never outright show like a screenshot or something. But you know what, for this case, let's just assume that this statement actually is true. So with just extended statements and all that, Vertus with just shown proof would be far above the End, considering the gap between just galaxy and solar system is absolutely huge. And if Vertus actually is multi-galaxy, the gap is just gonna be even higher. Can we get much higher? Yes, we can! But then the reverse is instantly turned on Vertus with the End's potential universal feat, which, yeah, it would absolutely annihilate Vertus by a massive amount even if we were using his multi-galaxy, because, you know, universe, multi-galaxy, I'm pretty sure that gap is even bigger than galaxy and solar system, but I'm not sure. But still, regardless, a massively wide gap between the two. But for the category of strength, Vertus barely takes the cake in my opinion for gameplay feats, and with proof, he does also take extended statement feats. So personally, if I had to give it to someone, Armageddon Vertus would be my choice as the winner of the attack potency category. Durability. When it comes down to durability, for Vertus using only his gameplay feats, it's kinda weird for this case. He can basically survive anything that original Animal Kaiser can throw at him. Ignoring the miracle cards, Vertus at the very least was shown to be throwing hands with Celio and Regulus, though it's definitely likely he threw hands with more given the multiple folk shown in the Kaiser stories and all like that. Regardless, Celio and Regulus are capable of destroying the Earth as a whole, but considering how much damage they can just dish out, I have a good feeling that this feat could definitely reach large planet level, though to be fair it was only for so long before Vertus' ass got taken out, so that's that. For the end with gameplay stuff, only thing that we really know is that Shishiwaka together with the help of Earth's animals decided to square up against the dragon. No, I'm not sure how animals work, some of them are higher than wall level, so altogether, maybe they could hope to be around the building range. For Shishiwaka, however, he too was capable of annihilating the Earth entirely, practically the same way as Celio and Regulus, but in a more destructive fashion with him just turning the Earth into Swiss cheese before piercing it and kaboom, there he goes. This feat would probably be similar in scale to what the other Lion Cubs could do, but definitely way stronger in my personal opinion. So I'll probably class this as, at the very least, planet level. So just with gameplay feats or whatever the hell we can call these small showings of feats that the Emperors could likely upscale from, once again both seem to be pretty even, though this time it seems like the end would upscale a little more due to true form Shishiwaka's destruction of Earth seeming to be a little stronger than Celio and Regulus's. With extended media and statements however, for Vertus using the Animal Kaiser comics, his durability is shown to be absolutely insane. He was taking blows from Master Apollo, Ninja-trained Siegfried, the Kaisers of the past, the elite mecha animals, Joker and Brutus, slightly with the help of the other villain beasts but we never see them, and the ninja animals before eventually going down with one final strike by an amped Celio and Regulus. This feat at the very least should be multi-planet level, given how the individuals of the Kaisers of the past at the very least could destroy a planet by themselves. Not to mention, Vertus could tank their punishment very well until his eventual death. Unless you buy the theory that Vertus is indeed the end. Why am I bringing up this theory so many times? My god! And you could also put Vertus at star to solar system level again with the stars that he eats, as likely he should have the durability to tank them by eating them. After all, with one of the most fundamental rules of physics where Newton's third law states that for every action in nature there's an equal and opposite reaction. Thus my argument for this. And then back again with Galaxy or Multi-Galaxy with him eating galaxies, so you practically can see where we're headed here. And for Galactic Emperor the End, once again he doesn't have too much on his side. Then the whole
"My source is that I made it the f*** up"
versus Battle Wiki universe thing, so universe level 2, why not? So once again with extended statements and all that, Versus with his shown proof would again be far above the End, and the reverse on Vertus with the End's universal stuff, same song, different dance. So again, if I had to choose a winner, well, of course I do prefer proof, so I think Versus should take another dub once again. Speed. Now as for speed, this section will be shorter as we can only go with gameplay stuff here. Also, I got a friend of mine to help me for this scaling, that being RyukoSimp616. This will not be the only time you'll be seeing him on this channel. So, for Vertus, we took a speed calculation of him going for his Galaxia runaway. In the scene where he flies up into orbit, he takes about 4 seconds. Ryuko took the distance between the ground on the Earth and the atmosphere, divided it by 4 seconds, and he came out to a whopping Mach 75, or 92,610 kilometers per hour. That is more than twice the speed needed to break free of the Earth's gravity. It's not all that fast compared to many other characters in fiction, but it's very impressive on its own. However, on Versus Wiki, there is a calculation again for Vertus' Galaxia runaway, but this time where he smacks the Earth out of the Milky Way galaxy in, coincidentally, also 4 seconds. That, however, came out to about a whopping 1...
Okay, so cutting the video right now, it's 7 AM in the morning, I haven't slept, still editing the video, and there's a major error here. So, okay, you see, I was just about to place Armageddon Vertus' Galaxia runaway at 1,500 times the speed of light. Turns out, that was not the case. I went to check Versus Wiki again. I took the calculation, which is right here. I couldn't decipher it, so I went to ask my friends, my other friends that is, on Discord, and turns out Armageddon Vertus's Galaxia Runaway is not 1,500 times faster than light. It's even faster. The actual calculation for that feat is 197,200,000,000 times faster than light. My god. That jump is huge, to say the least. So, yeah. The video will be mentioning 1,500 times the speed of light for Vertus multiple times, and yeah, obviously I'm not gonna re-record, I'm too lazy for that, so I will be correcting those by leaving text on the screen, so don't worry too much about it, I guess. So with that said, let's just head back to the video. This is freaking crazy.
The Animal Kaiser Pop is real!
And if anyone knows the difference between something even like 999 times the speed of sound against 1 times the speed of light, the gap is still massive. So you can only imagine the gap between Mach 75 and 1,500 times FTL. As for the end, Ryuko actually kinda made a small mistake at first. When the end goes for a Zodiac Tyrant, he is at first seen to be shown directly in front of the sun. However, that actually isn't the case. Here's the actual thing. So when Ryuko took this literally, with a calc between the Earth's distance from the sun, this came out to an absolutely insane 250 times the speed of light. But obviously this scene is taken wrongly, so let's get to the actual one. Basically the same as Vertus' own speed calculation, but this time the end took 2 seconds to get out into orbit. Thus, the Galactic Emperor's speed comes out to a still very impressive Mach 150, or 196,333.2 kilometers per hour. Thus, for this speed category, the end is twice as fast as the Armageddon whale, and while Armageddon Vertus may have a way better light speed calculation, that feat isn't an actual measure of his own speed, but rather the effect of his devastating attack. Thus, for this category, I'm giving this victory to Galactic Emperor. The end. Abilities. For Armageddon Vertus, he does have quite a small selection. He can obviously change form as he has no set form, thus why he took the form of a blue whale. He can grow in size with a minimum weight of 150 tons, or this much in terms of kilograms, to a maximum of literally infinity, just like the size of your mother. He also either has heat or laser vision and can literally eat other creatures, including large ones like actual blue whales. He also has his own version of the Nova Zone called Armageddon, which is a pocket space that heals a decent chunk of his health and increases his strength. For the end, he also has a pretty small variety for his abilities. Again, he can change form, has gears that not only seem to help him as a boost in speed, but can also be used to create energy like constructs. For this case, the end creates hands to destroy planets with. He also has an energy beam he can fire from his mouth, and likely also having the Space Snack ability. Between a Saturn Donut, Mercury Soda, and Mars Wieners, these delicious, quick appetizers increase the strength of the Emperor and also heals him a bit. But more so, it heals the person that he's supporting, but I think for this scenario, it's pretty fair if he also can eat the Space Snack. You get what I mean, right? I think it's pretty viable. And then, of course, his signature ability, the Double Time Stop. This move can only be used once, and freezes his opponent in time, and they can only go back to normal after he finishes his attack, which by that point, they're likely dead already. So when it comes to abilities, without a doubt, Galactic Emperor the End takes this. Sure, Vertus' Armageddon ability should heal and strengthen him way more than the Space Snap, but keep in mind, the End has the ability to stop time. Stopping time against your opponent is usually a very powerful win condition, capable of turning a losing battle into a quick, swift victory. And considering Vertus and literally every other Animal Kaiser character cannot resist a time stop, the End definitely will be taking this category. Results. So, tallying everything up, this can either be an unsurprisingly very close fight or a straight up stomp on either side. Using gameplay feats, both Vertus and the End are similar in power, with Vertus likely just having a slight edge. And while both have ways of increasing their strength and healing themselves, Vertus' buffs seem to be superior, and both have a form of range attack through their lasers, so that kinda cancels each other out. Here comes the End's advantages, however. He may be slightly less powerful, but not only is he twice as fast, but he also has far better maneuverability in the air. Plus, with his time stop, even if it's only a one-time use, the End could utilize it to get an absolutely devastating blow on Vertus, as the whale has literally no way of moving and stop time, which is something he seems to somehow always do in game. So with gameplay, it is pretty close, but with a 2x speed gap, better maneuverability, capability of freezing time, and also the ability to still do very good damage, the Universal Dragon would bring forth the End to the whale. But with extended media, the closeness immediately gets dropped. If you're not aware, even though I've probably already said it earlier, the gap between multi-galaxy to solar system and universal to multi-galaxy is so huge that the ones wielding the weaker power would straight up be unable to deal any damage onto the stronger foe. So, with all that, who do I personally think would win in this bout? Well, with what was given for both emperors with their stats and abilities, I would say that by all things found for official media, Armageddon Vertus takes the cake. With proven media, Vertus straight up bodies the End. Even if the End is twice as fast, Vertus will still be able to catch up to him. 2 times is not that big of a speed gap. Plus, considering his statements, the End can, at best, destroy a solar system, Vertus could consume entire galaxies. That is leagues above solar system level, to the point that even if the End used all of his power on Vertus, he would do absolutely no damage to him. Even if the End could utilize the time stop, not only is it a one-time use, but no matter how much power he puts into his Zodiac Tyrant, Vertus will just eat that damage. Not literally, by the way, of course. And if you want to bring up the universal thing I mentioned for the End earlier, there's 2 issues. The first, that is a statement from Versus Wiki, and as stated before, it has no proof, like an image backing it up. So that's a major issue. If someone actually finds that, however, please show it to me. That would be very helpful. The second, Animal Kaiser characters have never shown capabilities to that level so far. The closest I could think of for an argument is the Nova Zone, but aside from that, the most normally Animal Kaiser you could probably see is maybe Solar System with the Miracle cards, but on their own, the animals are usually like large planet at best, and with the statements I said earlier, multi-galaxy. If Animal Kaiser characters had the capability of destroying universes, well, the question is, why don't they just do it? Or why isn't it stated? Especially more on the invader side, especially that is literally their goal. But clearly they aren't able to do that all in one go, so what they do is just go destroy planet after planet so that the whole thing kind of gets settled. You see where I'm going with this. Thus, with all that said, Galactic Emperor the End was definitely a ferocious opponent that few in the Animal Kaiser universe would want to mess with, and his time stop is one of the most impressive abilities on his world. But with the backup of more statements with actual showings and not on some versus page with no proof at all, Armageddon Vertus' overwhelming strength and brute force was more than enough to smack away this draconic threat. And, I guess you could say, Armageddon Vertus was the one who really brought the end to this galactic dragon. For our winner is Armageddon Vertus. Thank you very much for watching this video. It certainly was quite some fun to make. Not only does this combine my favorite fictional series together with something I do somewhat enjoy being, or mostly just in its community, but I do somewhat have fun with it sometimes, but it also does somewhat answer an age-old question that a lot of people in the Animal Kaiser community have been debating about. I'm practically just going off script here, but I don't even have a script for this outro, so it definitely will sound quite off. With that said, it probably has been a while since I made my last essay type video on Animal Kaiser, and I definitely want to dive in more into it someday. I want to talk about how Animal Kaiser is viable for death battle, how it's viable in versus scaling, and I also want to talk about the whole series in general someday. It's definitely going to take a lot of time, and I gotta mentally prepare myself for that, and also physically. I literally have to write scripts and also do a lot of research. You know, Animal Kaiser is a pretty obscure series, so yeah, finding all the sources is definitely gonna be very difficult. But with that, thank you all very much for your support, and yeah, it's totally been quite a fun ride. So, I hope to see you all again, and hey, stay tuned for the next Animal Kaiser video. My name is Kaiser Isaiah, and I'm signing out. Please, have a good one.